Hi everyone, it's Isabel here. I hope you're all doing well. I am taking the opportunity of a little bit of peace and quiet to try and catch up with a few videos I wanted to record. Apologies in advance if there's any either dog barking, because I'm on dog sitting duty today and he'll bark at random people walking past the window, or background noise. I've got various household things going for chores and life and such like, but hopefully it'll be absolutely fine. So what am I doing today? Well, there's a few things I want to share in various ways. I have a recorded video that I'm gonna edit and put up shortly with some decks that I opened, but I've been thinking about trying to do a couple of the VRs that have been around 2022, reflecting on decks, practice, etc. So I really wanted to do Lisa's hashtag top 10 tarot, and I ummed and ahed about trying to do it, and one of the things is that I haven't actually got that much to share in terms of what I brought in 22. So I thought about doing standout decks 2022, which was by PeekabooRose, and what I realised was that actually I'd be better off just sharing some things with you than trying to do it as a particular VR. So these are this is going to be a sort of Isabel reflects on her tarot practice in 2022 stroke her excessive purchasing, her reining it in, and general ramblings about decks, but also a vague response to some of those VRs. But thank you to the people that have been doing such fantastic VRs and responses. I've really enjoyed seeing them, seeing the kind of similarities and differences between decks people are bringing in, and inspiration for that. So a little bit of kind of a sort of ramble to start with. What I'm going to do potentially is just literally whiz through and show you the decks that arrived. So that arrived through my door in 2022. That will include some decks that were actually pre-purchased, paid for, kickstarted in 2021. Actually in 2022, the majority of the decks I brought in were more Oracle kind of decks. A little bit of a caveat to this, my initial intention was to say, well, I've not brought enough decks in 2022, but what I did realise was that I actually have put more in than I thought, because I have been getting the Total Tarot magazine subscription as a fairly beginner. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm going to really deep dive with it a bit more in due course. But of course that has given me a deck every couple of months. So actually I'm not going to include those decks, so I have brought probably double in of the decks that I thought because of that subscription, but for now I'm going to keep those separate because they were not brought in as intentional purposes. One of the things I'm going to do is decide which of those I might keep, whether I'm going to keep all of them or not. I hope that makes sense. So this is kind of what I'm going to do, is sort of go through some of the decks I've brought in, reflect on a couple that I've used that are kind of real standout decks, and then and reflect a little bit really. So basically I realised by the end of 2021 that I had spent extortionately ridiculous amounts of money on decks, not like purchasing decks for hundreds of pounds each, but just too many. 2021 was kind of the height of where, having discovered this kind of tarot community, coming out of COVID, being at home a lot, my purchasing went a bit overboard, and I was kind of buying decks here, there and everywhere. Now I'm quite good at hunting down a bargain, don't get me wrong, so like a lot of my decks will come in at a reasonable cost. I will not pay out extortionate amount of money for them potentially, but I really did spend an awful lot, and a lot of those decks just weren't used. or I flicked through them. I'm still really a real beginner, and as a working mum, I don't have a lot of time to reflect and to really get my head around it. I'm seeing this as something long term. I'm seeing this as something that won't go away, as part of me developing, part of my reflective practice. But it is not, at the moment, I barely read for myself, so I definitely don't read for others, and it's not generating an income for me. So this is very much, it's a hobby, I suppose, a self-indulgent thing, and a self-indulgent thing that results in me buying upwards of 50 decks for best part of, let's say, £1,000 in 2021 is ridiculous. So the background to 2022 was that I went in with this realization that I needed to become more aware of what I was bringing in. A lot of the decks I have brought in I wanted, and I have reflected on and purchased, but there are certainly several in my early days that are now in my purgatory basket, in my going out. Now, I did a video on that, and I did a deck video a few weeks ago, which I haven't posted up, which I haven't edited. But what I might do instead is just talk about the ones that I'm getting rid of at some point. Anyway, rambling again, apologies. I will try and timestamp some of this so that you can get past my stupid ramblings if you don't like them. So yeah, so 2022 started with me trying to go, actually, what do I or don't I need? What is going to help me? And I started to realize that I'm beginning to understand some of the things that work for me and some of the things that don't, and the things that appeal and the things that don't, which is really nice because I'm really beginning to get a feel for what I want, which means that I'm being a lot more discerning about my purchases. It was never a no buy year, because if I say no buy, I don't think that's going to help me as such. I wanted it just to be that I began to become aware of what I was purchasing and what I was going to do with them. So a couple of examples from the previous year are things like astrology decks that I'd bought that I then was like, actually, that's gone by the wayside, and I will be sharing one of those in a minute. Some of the decks that I bought in 2021, I've also, so in terms of standout decks of 22, I have tried to actually really use some of my decks and get more use out of them. There were certain decks I used a lot in 2021, and it's the same again now. I've got this little pile of decks I've barely used because others I was using. So I'm trying to kind of really make sure I'm giving decks a good go. So in 2022, I had basically about 20 decks, I think, that came through the door. Again, discounting those Total Tarot magazine decks, which have been coming in. And of those decks, about 5 or 6 have been paid for, pre-ordered, purchased in 2021. So actually, in terms of decks that I chose to put money down on, you know, probably about 15 or so, excluding the Total Tarot. Interestingly, I did put down on a deck which has actually just arrived. So yeah, so there's a 1 or 2 I'm waiting on. So I think there's 2 or 3 that I'm waiting on that have just come in or coming in shortly. 2022, I also was thinking a bit more oracally, because I realized that I felt the need to have some things that were a bit broader. So yeah, so what I thought I'd do, I think I've shown a lot of these decks at various points. I may or may not have done. If there are any that you see that you aren't familiar with, but most of them are fairly common, but if there are any you fancy me talking through, some of them I have actually used a little bit, so I might be able to talk while I'm going through. I'll talk about that. What I thought I'd do is just literally share them very quickly, and also then share a deck that I've really I had a bit more time with this year, and then I'm going to record a separate video around some of the stuff I've got in recently. So let's see what decks I've got. So I've got a massive bag that I'm digging them all out of. So just bear with me a second. I kind of have thrown them in a bag. It does mean that part of my day is going to be rehoming decks, but I think it's nice to occasionally pull them out and sort them. So the first deck that I came in 2022 was this Starcodes Astro Oracle. Now, this is one of the ones where I say I had this sudden urge to try and use astrology with tarot to generate ideas, but it didn't get very far, and I have got the Heavenly Bodies deck sat there waiting to be used, and this one, I didn't even open this for several months. It came in and it just sat there for ages. I did open it in the middle of the year, but I still haven't used it. As you can see, it's still got its paper wrap on, so this is still waiting to be used. And really what I want to do is I want to tie some of the astrology in with my tarot practice. I really still like this deck. I do think that I'm going to use it at some point. It's just not been the right time. As I said before, you know, post-COVID life has got busier. So that came in. I'd bought it because at the time I was on a website and it was a very good price. I think it was down to under £15 UK money, which was good value, and I'd seen it on a few channels, so I thought I'd give it a go, but I haven't even used it yet. So this sits in a box of decks that are waiting to be worked with, which has quite a few. So brought Starcodes Astro Oracle in. I then, a deck that came in that was a Kickstarter, which I think I have actually shown in a video. Apologies, digging in bag. See, what I want is a space that I can show you guys on the video that's really nice, but unfortunately, I don't have that at the moment. So I don't know what to do with this at the moment. This, oh, it's only just going to fit, is a double set of playing cards. So I had a sudden spurt of, oh, I want to get playing cards. See what I mean? And these are beautiful. They're Cernunnos, and there's a day fairy and a starry night fairy. They are really lovely. I have shown them in a video. They have like a kind of, to me it was that kind of Celticness, the druidry, that sort of thing, and I'm still really big on that. However, I haven't really been using playing cards at all as I thought I was going to get into them. This is a really beautiful set. I really love it, but I've barely used it and I'm not sure what to do with it because I kind of don't want to let it go. As I say, this was a Kickstarter and it was reasonably expensive. It was, you know, it's beautifully done and everything, and I really love it, but I'm just not sure whether it would be better for me to sell it. Can't decide what to do, but that came in. So I'd kickstarted that probably in about September, and it came in January. And actually it came in early, so it was a bit of a surprise. Then another Kickstarter which appeared kind of mid 2022 is this one. So this is the Light in the Mist Tarot Puzzletale. So this was another Kickstarter. It wasn't expensive, although the shipping was. Good communication. I really like games. I like board games. I used to love things like you know, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, so I thought I'd really enjoy this. Came in mid 2022. I'd kickstarted it in October. This is my notebook. Basically, it's a beautiful tarot deck in a gorgeous box. I think I've shown it. If I haven't, I'm happy to show it. Beautiful tarot deck in a gorgeous box, but it's also like a game, a one-player game. So basically, you're finding clues to the puzzle. I actually have found, I've given it a go and I found it really hard. I had a couple of goes and some of it is actually really, I don't get it. So the cards are beautiful and they've done a really good job of aligning. I mean, that's the Magician, the tarot sort of meaning. So you can use it ultimately as a separate tarot deck. But it is also a game. So basically you have a little guidebook with information. You try and solve the puzzle. It gives you a word and then there's like a little story to go with it. I have an issue because I found it hard. So this notebook's in the box because this was what I started doing it in, and to be perfectly honest, I've barely done any of it, and I think because it requires so much concentration to really get my head around the puzzles, I have just not done it. So I'm not sure what to do with this one. I don't know whether to give up and try and sell it, or what to do at the moment. I haven't used it as a tarot deck because I'm trying to do the puzzles, but that's a different one. Yeah, Light in the Mist Tarot Puzzletale. I had all these ideas of doing the videos as well with them, and oh, just not happened. One of my standout purchases, which I'm really glad I eventually paid and went in for, was the Three Trees Tarot set. So I was not really aware of the tarot when the Oak, Ash and Thorn by Stephanie Burrows by Three Trees Tarot was first released. So I came to the party a bit late, but I was there for when they started talking about Smoke, Ash and Embers. I absolutely love dragons, so it was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, with this. It wasn't a fear of missing out. It was a genuine draw to the deck, and they did an offer where you could order the Oak, Ash and Thorn at the same time, so I did that. I pre-ordered in November 21 and they came in February 22. I did use definitely the Oak, Ash and Thorn. You can see I've kept the flat because I hate getting these in and out. I used this. I really loved it. I did some readings with this. A lot of people know this deck. It's really popular. I love shuffling it. I love the feel of it. Absolutely love it. I really, really love. And the Smoke, Ash and Embers as well is beautiful. So in some ways for me, those are standout decks because I used them for a couple of weeks when they came in, and I really loved them. So those were I'm glad I purchased, basically. I'm glad I got those. Then what? A couple of decks that I ordered from somebody on a Facebook group. So these are secondhand decks. I got 3 from this lady. These I got very early in 2022. Just digging them out. So this person had a couple of decks that I've been looking at for a while. The Star Tarot, which is this beautiful deck now, and Joie de Vivre, which I'll just get out of here. It lives in a pouch because it was in a tuck box. I also did a deck mod because I had a sudden urge, and this Pixiekins Daily Inspiration. So I got these bargain price. As I say, I deck modded the Joie de Vivre because I didn't like the size. So I've taken the borders off and put a sort of yellow on the edges. I used this then for a little bit. I feel it's a very spring feeling deck, so I haven't used it much since then because it feels very spring like. So I'm looking forward to using it again and seeing how it goes and seeing whether I still like it. It did work quite well. I also used it with the Pixiekins, so drawing like a daily inspiration. So these are like more of a kind of affirmation-y type card. You have a character and an inspiration. I'm not sure about keeping these, to be honest. Now, re-looking at them, I think this is a deck that I need to use again. I quite like the comments and the phrases on them, to be honest. Maybe I haven't given it enough of a go. That works really nicely. I like working with that and the Joie de Vivre, and I did do that early in the year. And then the other one's the Star Tarot. So this, I don't know what I've done with the book. It didn't come with a box. They'd mislaid the box. So I actually bought the bag that you can get, the matching bag online for a good price, and it lives in that. I want to study this. I was doing some deck study earlier in the year and I was using this, but it does have a sort of more Thoth-like background, I understand. So I've got a couple of decks like that I want to try and get to understand the kind of differences. But I really like this deck. I really like I just love the colours. I really, really love it. I just need to understand it a bit better. The book is magnificent. Oh, look at that. This is a deck I saw very early in my journey, and I was really drawn to it then, and I've never gone off it. I think this is the second edition with the foil. This is not a sharp gilding. The only downside is these are massive cards. I am a fan of a much smaller card. It means you can see stuff, but they are really big to manage. But this is a deck that I've got out that I want to work with, so I'm keeping this one to hand, ready to work with this year. So that was something I was purchased. Oh, I've got a set of playing cards I got on eBay that I haven't pulled out. So that was the James R Eads Open Portals. I used those for ages with one of my decks. I can't remember which one. At one point I had that and one of my tarot for a couple of weeks, and I was really enjoying them. So they're quite cool. They are in another video, so I won't go digging around for them now. I then backed I pre-ordered actually, sorry, from Phil and Jackie Lovesey, who have done the Arboridium and the White Hair deck. I pre-ordered their new deck, The Secrets of Wandwood. I think it was a Kickstarter actually, but a quick Kickstarter. They only Kickstarter once they've got the deck ready, so they literally basically get the deck, know that they're happy with it, and then they put it on Kickstarter. They don't do it while they're still working on it. So basically it went into Kickstarter, and I put my money down at the start of the year, and within a couple of months I had it by Easter, basically by sort of April, March, April. So this is The Secrets of the Wandwood. I've been using this the last couple of weeks and really enjoying it. Beautiful cards. I've done a video on Phil and Jackie's decks. They're all beautiful. They have another deck that they will be putting out in the next couple of months. They have just received a prototype, so if you follow them online at Matlock the Hare, they've just received the prototype of the Magical Cottage, I think it's called, which is their next deck, so I will probably get that. When I got Wandwood, I also got the pocket version of the Arboridium, which is one of their earlier decks that I didn't have. I really like these pocket decks they come out with. They're a kind of linen-y cardstock. They're really cool to work with. This is in a mess because this is a deck the last 2 weeks I've been working with this deck. I love her illustrations. They are so cool. They often really reflect what's going on. You can really get into the card and see what's going on, or you can just kind of look at the word very quickly. I like these small decks. The only thing I would say is that they do write a lot in the guidebook, and sometimes, you know, if you're in a hurry and you want to pull a deck and you just want a quick kind of something, you're like trying to find that. It came with the bag, so this came as a Kickstarter, and I bought this as an add-on, and I'm waiting for the next one actually of theirs. So that's that. So I'm pleased with that purchase because I know I like their decks. I am running out of space. Bear with me 2 secs again. Okay, this is taking forever, I'm sorry. Another deck I got in, so in 2021 I got the Goddess Dream Oracle in. No, the Goddess Love Oracle by Wendy Andrew. In 2022 I saw this deck reduced on a website when I was picking up something else, so I bought this. I have opened it, but I haven't worked with the cards yet very much, which is annoying because I'd intended on doing that in the autumn. The Goddess Love actually lives by my bed. I haven't pulled from that lately, so that's another one that's out ready to have a go soon. I love these decks, really nice decks, and again, that was a considered purchase. I knew I wanted it, but I didn't buy it until there was space in my kind of budget and head. But actually, when I did buy it, I then didn't use it. A deck I bought in the summer on a whim was this one, Divine Beloved Oracle cards. I wanted something to help me with my spiritual practice, so I am also a Christian. I am torn between how that all merges together, and I wanted something that would help me have more of a prayerful practice, and these are not Christian, but they are lovely little kind of, you can use them as almost little reflective prayers rather than affirmation. So rather than a I will do this today, or I am like this, which I was finding, I think with the Pixiekins, I was finding it really not helpful. These are really lovely. They're like little prayers. Not suitable for everyone, but this is another beautiful deck. But really good price as well. You know, none of these are expensive. Obviously, I don't know what they are in kind of American or whatever, but in the UK, like, both of these decks I bought for under £15 each, which I think is really good value. They're really good quality. One's Hay House and one's Rock Pool. Beautiful, really like those. So I'm really glad I kind of made those considered purchases. Another, so you can see this was the year of Oracle decks. Another Oracle deck that came in later in the year is the Earth Alchemy by Katie Jane Wright and Nikki Strange. I bought their Spirit. Oh, another thing I should say was that one of my focuses this year, due to costs accelerating, was that most of the things I bought in from independent creators were British. So where there was a British creator, so Phil and Jackie Lovesey, Stephanie Burrows, or a British based, should we say, because I know some of the people are not from Britain originally, I was more inclined to go for those because it was supporting an artist in the UK and was therefore also more affordable. So they have the Spirit Animal Oracle, Animal Spirit. They have an Animal Oracle, which I really like. So when they were bringing this out, I don't have any decks really that are crystal or plant-based. And I was keen to get something, particularly for the summer, that I could use to kind of draw in some nature, some natural energy. So these basically each have some kind of plant or crystal association. And Nikki Strange does the illustrations. The text and the write-up is by Katie Jane Wright. They have a little phrase at the bottom, you know, so you have like a keyword, an expansion on the keyword. This one's beautiful. Crystal Dragon, Sound and Colour, New Healing Modalities, Rainbow Ray, Sulphate. And then in the book, it kind of reflects on both the plant and the crystal. This was a standout deck in the sense of I used it with my standout tarot and really enjoyed that in the summer. It was quite a nice summer deck when you were like really feeling the heat and the kind of energy around. It's not a deck for hibernating in the winter. That's one for kind of really absorbing the beauty around you, I think. So again, a considered purchase direct from Nikki, actually, from her website. Got 2 mini decks. I love these little mini decks, but I only get the ones that I really like. I could get a whole basket full of these. Avalon Magic, Druid Wisdom. Avalon, one of my favourite oracles, as I've said many a time, is Mists of Avalon, and this is the same illustrator and producer. And then Druid Wisdom, which I ummed and ahed about and didn't get at first. Both of these I got before the summer, so they came out and about with me a lot on and they were great for little card pulls when I didn't have time. I am really big on Celtic, on our native kind of Druid-based, Celtic-based wisdom, pagan kind of Arthurian legend. So these were really special, especially because a lot of these are places I've been or I'm aware of. So the Druid Wisdom is like photographs of things I know. Not all of them, but like obviously, you know, you've got your Stonehenge, you've got kind of mountains, and these were quite nice to just, especially if I was stuck inside with work, I could just pull one of these and it would take me back to somewhere kind of special, and I could reflect on a moment, you know, so seeing some, oh, that reminds me of X, Y and Z, which was really nice. So these were really lovely little cards. I think they're great for just, they actually sit on my desk, to be honest, alongside the Forest Fae, which is the other one I've got in a similar vein. not many more now. We're nearly there. One I got really good price on eBay is this one. This is quite hard to come by, the Celtic Oracle by John Matthews. I don't know what made me get this. I think I saw it and it was such a good price. It was under £10, barely used, book, cards, the lot. And I think I'd seen Simon, and I'm, as I say, I'm really big on all my Celtic stuff. And I think I'd seen Simon talking about the shamanic one. So I picked this one up. However, I haven't worked with it. And I am aware that this, along with my Brian Fairies Oracle, I need to work with in a particular way. I need to understand. So the issue I've got here is that I've bought this deck with the intention of, oh yeah, that's great. But actually, it's another deck, the Fairies Oracle I've had since 2021, and the intention of was to work with it and to get to understand it, and I haven't, so they just sit there. Whereas something like this, I can pull out quite quickly. I don't need to understand the system. I don't need to understand the background. I can just work with it with my tarot or just even pulling in the morning. Some of these decks where it's like you've got to go through, you've got to understand all the groups of cards, you've got to do it like this, I'm not using. And so this is something I kind of had to start reflecting on. You know, I looked at a couple of others in a similar vein and stopped myself buying them because I was like, well, I've got 2 or 3 decks there that need attention and they're not getting it because I haven't got the brain space to be doing it. I'm not going to get rid of this for now because I do still think there's some value in it, especially with my love of all these Celtic things. But that was a purchase that it was like, I think I was drawn by the price at that time, and I'd not bought decks for it. I literally, like, I hadn't bought anything for ages. And I just saw it, I was like, oh, I'm going to get it. And then it's sat there since like about May or something. And I think also the other thing I realised was as well, the start of the year is when I bought decks. And by the summer, I suddenly realised, no, stop. You're not using them. So I bought that. I didn't use it. And then I brought in, so online, I kickstarted or pre-ordered 2 decks, which I then was like, they sat when they came in, they sat for ages without being even looked at. In fact, I only opened them the other day to do a video, which is the video to come, and that's the Life Design cards and the Crystal Forest. So again, these are both British based creators. They are second editions of decks that I wasn't here in the community for the first version. I was dead excited, bought them. These came in, so I Kickstarter or pre-ordered these. So I think they were both Kickstarter, right? One in March and one in June, because I'm looking at my spreadsheet. These came in August, and these came in a little bit before Christmas. These sat with another deck I'm going to show you in a minute in a basket waiting to be opened because I wanted to open them and look at them properly. I then last week opened them to record the video to show you. That's the video that's waiting to be edited. It hopefully will be up before this one. But I still haven't looked at them properly. And this one requires me to actually understand a bit more. A bit like the Celtic Oracle and the Fairies Oracle. This one is going to hopefully be really cool. It's crystal and tree based. But it was that point in the summer where I went, hang on a second, I've done it again. I've bought quite a few decks in. I did work with them quite well actually in the spring, but then work went insane from about June onwards. Then it was the summer holidays, and then work has just been ridiculous since September. And I am not taking the time to look or use any of these. And that's the point at which I went, no, I do not need any more. I was being more discerning, but I was still buying things, and I stopped. And the only things that I went for were things that were absolutely additional, reflected like Lisa does in her anti-hauls, or Lisa Papez and things that were I really wanted, I'd been eyeing up for a while, were a brilliant price, or that we're going to add to my collection. So the last thing that I brought in really in 22 was the mini Oak Ash and Thorn. Now I'm sure I'll hear you say, but you only got the large version in the spring. Well, the thing is, with this deck, when I got the large version, I fell in love with it. I really, really enjoyed using it. We went away and I wanted to take it with me, but I was petrified that if I took that really big deck with me, it was quite substantial, it's quite heavy, we were actually flying, and I didn't want to damage it. When she announced she was doing a mini deck, I love mini decks, and for travelling, for having on the go, they are fantastic, and therefore this felt like a no-brainer to me. This was me getting a portable version of a deck that I really liked, that I'd worked with, for the purpose of being able to work with it more, to take it out in nature. And those are the decks that I actually got in, aside from Total Tarot. I have got one Kickstarter waiting to come in, and again though, I backed that in May. So again, that was pre me going stop. I've got one deck that's just come in that I backed on Indiegogo before Christmas, which I will share in another video. I have bought a couple of decks since the start of the year, but this is a big but. They are decks that I actually considered for a while and fit another gap potentially, I think. So yeah, so that's what came in 22. And as I say, some of these decks have not been or barely been worked with. Some of them, when I first got them, I had a really good go with them. And I think I was much more discerning about these decks coming in than I had been in 2021. A deck that I wanted to share that was really, I suppose, my main standout deck alongside some of these is my Healing Waves Tarot. So I've talked about this in a video before. I backed this in 2021 and it was supposed to come in the summer, and I had every intention of taking it away, and it didn't arrive. This year I saved it. So this was the deck that went on holiday. We went for the good part of 2 weeks camping on the south coast of England. The weather was gorgeous. We spent a lot of time like by the beach, walking in nature. This was the deck I used. I adore this deck. It reads for me like a dream. I really feel like the cards really reflect the sense of what you're supposed to understand from them, but also you can look at them from intuitively. They really reflect stuff that's important. So for those 2 weeks I had this deck running alongside the Earth Alchemy, which they actually worked really well together, because I had kind of that sort of water seaside energy and then some kind of earthy energy going on here. I hope you can see that. I've not really zoomed in on any of these, but you know, they actually paired really nicely. You know, sort of look at that, the synchronicity there. You know, you still got the pearl and the oyster shell. So I felt that these worked really well together. And I really enjoyed working with them while we were away. I also had Divine Beloved with me. And I was also started working with my Wild Unknown Archetypes, which I'd got as a Christmas present last year. And what deck did I take to work with that? I can't remember now. I'm sure I had another deck I was using with that. I can't remember. But yeah, so that was a sort of a deck that really, I had a good couple of weeks where I had time to... No, wrong box. Where I had time to study and to look at decks. And I really enjoyed working with that deck. And I think that is actually my main standout deck from last year. Or the main combination, alongside, I would say, getting my Oak Ash and Thorn, Smoke Ash and Embers. They were also a really important part of 22 for me. I have rambled on for long enough, I think. I hope you've enjoyed seeing these decks and sharing my collection. I'm sorry that it wasn't a true top 10 of 22 or a true standout decks, but hopefully you know, you've enjoyed seeing them anyway. A couple of videos that may follow, as I said, a couple of videos on a couple of decks that I've got in the last couple of weeks and what I'm going to do or how I'm going to work with them, and a video that should be up before this, to be honest, on the 3 smaller decks I brought in. And yeah, and then I'm going to have a think about what videos I can do in the future. I hope you're all well. If you've got any ideas, you know, do drop me a line. If you want to see any decks, do put them in the comment. Otherwise, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.